Max was fearless, rebellious, and faster than anyone on a skateboard. This is the story of how a guarded outsider became Hawkins' most vulnerable target. Every laugh, every loss, every fight for survival. But from the very beginning, she carried a pain she couldn't escape, and to uncover it, we need to return to where it all began. She arrived in Hawkins like a storm no one expected. A red-haired girl with a skateboard under her arm and a glare sharp enough to keep everyone at a distance. Her name? Max Mayfield. But the arcade machines knew her by another name, Mad Max. The boys thought they had the arcade crown, until one day their high scores were crushed by a mysterious new challenger. That's when Max stepped into the picture, not just as a player, but as someone destined to shake Hawkins to its core. For Dustin and Lucas, she was instantly fascinating. She was different, confident, sarcastic, and not afraid to challenge them in ways they'd never experienced. But for Eleven, who was still learning what friendship meant, Max felt like a threat. A wedge forming where trust was still fragile. And yet, Max wasn't the type to beg for anyone's approval. Behind her sharp tongue was someone desperately trying to find a place she belonged. Moving to Hawkins wasn't her choice. It was forced, along with her new life under the roof of Neil Hargrove and her half-brother Billy. For Max, every smile she showed was just another mask hiding the chaos of her home. This was her beginning, the outsider, the challenger, the girl who didn't know she'd soon be standing face-to-face with monsters that made her worst nightmares look tame. If Max was fire, Billy was the storm that never stopped burning. Her stepbrother was reckless, violent, and unpredictable. An abusive force in her life that left scars far deeper than anyone could see. From the outside, Billy looked like just another arrogant teenager, but for Max, he was a constant reminder that no matter how tough she acted, she could never truly escape the chaos of her family. Living in Billy's shadow forced Max to build walls. Sarcasm became her shield, independence her weapon. She wasn't just trying to fit in with the Hawkins gang, she was trying to survive at home. Still, cracks in her armor began to show. When she and Eleven finally moved past their rivalry, what grew between them was more than friendship. It was sisterhood. Together they shared secrets, laughter, and even a little rebellion, like their unforgettable shopping mall adventure. But joy in Hawkins never lasts long. As the Mind Flayer crept into their world, Billy became one of its victims. Possessed, twisted, and turned into a monster, he was no longer the tormentor she hated. He was the brother she couldn't save. And when Billy sacrificed himself to protect Eleven and the others, Max's world shattered. She had fought him for years, resented him, feared him, but his death planted something inside her she would carry forever. Guilt. That guilt would not fade. It would grow, and in time, it would make her the perfect target for something far darker than Billy ever was. By the time Season 4 begins, Max is no longer the fiery, untouchable girl who once skated through Hawkins with defiance in her eyes. She's quieter now, withdrawn, living in the shadows of her own guilt. Billy's death didn't just scar her, it consumed her. Every glance in the mirror reminded her of the brother she couldn't save. And deep down, she wondered if she had ever truly tried. Her friendships had fractured. She pushed Lucas away, breaking off their relationship, not because she stopped caring, but because she couldn't let anyone close enough to see the weight she carried. Dustin, Mike, and the rest of the group saw it too. Max was drifting, trapped in a loneliness she wouldn't admit. Even Eleven, the closest thing to a sister she had ever known, was gone. And without her, Max felt even more isolated. School didn't make things easier. She sat alone, headphones blasting music loud enough to drown out the world, writing letters to the people she loved, letters she hoped they would never have to read. A therapist tried to reach her, but therapy sessions only scratched the surface of the storm raging inside. And while Max thought she was simply broken, something else was watching, something ancient, something that could smell the grief, the fear, the guilt clinging to her soul. Vecna had found his next target. The signs came slowly at first, a flicker in the corner of her eye, a voice that didn't belong, the feeling of being watched even in daylight. Max thought it was her mind betraying her, another cruel trick of grief. But then came the visions, the school hallways stretching into endless corridors, the clocks chiming in places they didn't exist, and worst of all, Billy, standing before her, bloodied, taunting, reminding her of the guilt she could never escape. Vecna had chosen her. He fed on trauma, and Max's pain was a feast. No one in Hawkins was more vulnerable. As her visions worsened, Max realized the truth. Her days were numbered. She wrote more letters, goodbye messages hidden in envelopes, preparing for the inevitable. But she wasn't ready to give up. When she confided in her friends, the gang fought to protect her. They didn't just see her as a victim, they saw her as one of their own worth saving. And then came the graveyard. Surrounded by memories of death, Max found herself dragged into Vecna's nightmare. vines binding her, bones ready to snap, eyes about to burst. It should have been the end, but it wasn't, because in that moment, the very thing that isolated Max, her headphones, her music, became her lifeline. As Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill poured into her ears, Max clawed her way through Vecna's curse. She ran, stumbling through the fragments of her memories, chasing a light that refused to fade. It was raw survival, a fight not just for her life, but for her right to exist beyond guilt. And when she finally broke free, collapsing into her friend's arms, Hawkins witnessed one of the most iconic moments in Stranger Things history. Max Mayfield had cheated death, but Vecna wasn't finished with her yet. Cheating death once was never going to be enough. Max knew it, Vecna knew it, and so did her friends. Hawkins was at war, and to win, the gang needed a plan. A dangerous one. Max herself would be the bait. It wasn't just strategy, it was sacrifice. Max volunteered to face Vecna again, knowing full well she might not walk away this time. She wasn't the tough, sarcastic girl from season 2 anymore. She was broken, terrified, but she was also brave. If her pain was what Vecna wanted, then she would use it against him. So in the final showdown, Max stepped into the heart of her own memories. The middle school dance where Billy had loomed over her. The guilt-filled visions where he whispered that she was never enough. Every fear Vecna wrapped around her like chains. This time, she didn't run, she stood. Meanwhile, Lucas fought his own battle outside. Fists against Jason, desperation against time. And inside Max's mind, Vecna tightened his grip. Her bones snapped one by one, her eyes clouded with blood. It was brutal, merciless, and it felt final. But far away, 11 was fighting too. Reaching across dimensions, across memories, she refused to let Max go. Just when everything seemed lost, 11's power surged through, breaking Vecna's hold long enough to keep Max alive. Barely. In that instant, Hawkins had its victory. But Max? She'd paid the price. Broken, fragile, and dangling between life and death, she became the cost of survival. And as silence fell over the battlefield, one truth was clear. Max Mayfield had fought like no one else. But the war wasn't over. Not for her, not for Hawkins. The dust settled, but victory felt hollow. Max lay broken, her body shattered from Vecna's curse. Bones bent at impossible angles, blood on her face, her chest barely rising. Lucas clutched her, sobbing, begging her to stay. In those final moments, Max whispered that she couldn't see anything, that she didn't want to die. And then, silence. Her heart stopped. For a few minutes, Hawkins lost her. Max Mayfield was gone, but 11 refused to accept it. With everything she had left, she reached into Max's mind, searching, fighting, pulling her back from the edge. And against all odds, Max breathed again, alive but not whole. In the hospital, machines kept her tethered to the world. Her body was alive, but her spirit was missing. When 11 entered the void to find her, she saw nothing, just darkness. Max's mind was gone. This was no ordinary survival, it was a limbo. She wasn't dead, but she wasn't living either. She was a prisoner of Vecna in a place no one could reach. And as Hawkins burned in the distance, Max became the story's most haunting question. Was she saved or stolen? From the moment she stormed into the arcade as Mad Max to the day she faced down Hawkins' deadliest monster, Max's journey was never just about survival. She was the outsider who became a friend, the sister who carried guilt, and the fighter who stared into the eyes of Vecna and refused to surrender. But now she lies trapped, her body alive, her mind missing. 11 couldn't find her in the void. Vecna's influence lingers over Hawkins, and Max Mayfield, the girl who ran faster than anyone else, is stuck in a place where running isn't possible. The question remains, will she return in Season 5? Or has Vecna already claimed her forever? What do you think? Is Max's soul imprisoned with Vecna? Or is there still hope for her comeback? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want me to break down theories about Max's fate in the final season, make sure you don't miss the next video.